Welcome to Native Yoga Toddcast. So happy you are here. My goal with this channel is to bring inspirational speakers to the mic in the field of yoga, massage, bodywork, and beyond. Follow us at Native Yoga and check us out at nativeyogacenter.com. All right, let's begin. Welcome to Native Yoga Toddcast. I am your host, Tom McLaughlin, and today I'm excited to welcome back Nona Mileva. She's a yoga therapist, educator, and a lifelong student of ancient languages and yoga philosophy. Nona's background is truly unique. She holds advanced degrees in philology and ancient cultures and has dedicated years to exploring how language, especially Sanskrit, shapes our understanding of yoga. Through her work as a teacher and therapist, she helps students bridge the gap between practice and philosophy, showing how sound, meaning, and awareness all intertwine. In this episode, we dive into why studying Sanskrit can deepen both your yoga and your inner journey, whether you're a complete beginner or a serious student of the tradition. To learn more about Nona and her work, visit her website at wellyoga.net. The link is in the description. Give it a click. Go say hi to Nona. Send her an email. And let's get started. I'm really excited to have Nona Mileva return to the podcast. Nona, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me again, Todd. Good to see you.
I'm really excited. Nona teaches classes for us here at Native Yoga Center every Friday. You can practice with her via in-studio and or you offer both your classes. You do a 10 o'clock vinyasa flow, which is on live stream, and you also teach an 11:15 restorative yoga that is on live stream and in studio. So I just wanted to mention that if you enjoy listening to Nona, you can practice with her here. And Nona, I'm just honored to have this opportunity. I'm actually really excited because the last time we had our conversation, I was in a really challenging place, and I feel a lot better today. So I think I'll be a little more attentive and able to do a better job here. But thank you so much for joining me again. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
You know, recently you had made mention that because you've been practicing and studying the Sanskrit language for quite some time now, that you were facilitating or helping facilitate a Sanskrit language class or language learning class. Can you tell me a little bit? Am I correct?
Yes. Let me give you maybe a little bit of context. I am currently facilitating and participating, leading, and being just a student in Sanskrit online Sanskrit study groups. But few of my students, my regular students from different places, have kind of formed of very small online community. So we would gather together. It's still not regular, but whenever they would like to, we'd get together and we'll do a Zoom session and we would study. We haven't structured it yet, but as I advance in my studies and I feel more comfortable teaching it to others, as one of my teachers said, as soon as you start learning Sanskrit, you always want to teach it to others. So that's what happened to me.
Nice.
So that's what I have been doing. I did study it more in a more structured way through online platforms. One of them was Yogic Studies with Professor Antonia Ruppel. I'll tell you more about it if you're interested. Currently, I'm participating in just weekly Swadhyaya gatherings. Edwin Bryant, professor of Hindu philosophy and also Sanskritist, organizes them. So we do 1 week philosophy text. Usually it's something bhakti related because he's a big bhakta, as you know. And the next week is a Sanskrit class. In between, we form those self-study groups and we work on text. He gives us assignments. As he says, we solidify the samskaras, the imprints in the mind and the soul of Sanskrit.
Nice.
Yes.
Amazing. No, that's so cool that you've gotten to this point where you're feeling even comfortable leading or facilitating teaching. So that's really amazing. How many years have you been relatively serious about your study?
So, just full disclosure, I could not in any way call myself or consider myself for a second an advanced Sanskrit the scholar, or maybe a very eager student would be the best way to put it. If I am to facilitate that process of learning, I call it elementary Sanskrit. So I truly start from basics. And don't forget, Sanskrit is a very foreign concept to most Westerners. So it takes some time for people to warm up to the idea, to start comprehending the concepts. It's a very different way of learning a language than the way the Western, especially American education approaches language and language studies.
Amazing.
I actually thought started with ancient languages when I was very young. I attended a school in Bulgaria. I'm from Bulgaria, from Eastern Europe, a school that was uniquely dedicated to ancient cultures and languages. That was actually the name of the school, School for Ancient Cultures and Languages. And the ancient languages included Latin and ancient Greek, ancient Bulgarian, and Sanskrit was an elective. I signed up. I didn't go. I went once. I was what did I know? I was like a young teenager, in the head of a young teenager, there are other ideas about life and how to spend their time. So funny thing, life takes turns, right? I would come across the idea throughout the years in between school and now, don't ask me how many, many years. And something would be like, no, not now. As if the time has come when the time came, which was when I became serious about teaching yoga as well. Although in my mind, I truly don't separate the teaching and the practicing. I think that one is forever student. He better be, she better be. When I realized that if I would like to consider, not even call myself, but to consider myself a serious and devoted practitioner to yoga and anything yoga encompasses as a term, as a practice, as a philosophy, as a principle, then Sanskrit is you can't separate the language from the practice. So that totally brought me back to where I began many years ago. The foundation of Latin and specifically the Greek, the ancient Greek, is actually very helpful. It makes a big difference, I have to admit, to whether you're starting as someone who comes from classical languages like I did, or someone who has never been in touch with those concepts. So I think I had it way easier than, the rest of the people in the course. I actually started first as a autodidact, as a self-taught student. I found the teachings of Professor Ruppel online. She was generous enough to share video materials on her book. I purchased her book, and for about a year, I worked on it on my own.
Wow.
How successfully is another story, but I worked, okay? I was committed. And then I really thought, it started as one of those things, let me get a little bit more into it. Let me at least, when I chant, when I teach class, when I say the names of the asana, at least I would like to know what I'm saying, right? Well, then it became more serious. Then I thought, no, this has to be pursued with passion.
Wow.
And I signed up and it was one. So she does the studies in levels. You start from the basic levels, and the system is greatly organized. And she actually from the get-go tells you, this is the textbook, this is the system. When you're ready, start teaching it. How awesome is that? How generous, how enlightened of a person do you have to be?
And mostly from the idea, Nona, that the way that you're going to become proficient in it is that by teaching it is how you learn it.
Right. You like that concept too. We learn we learn best what we most need to, we teach best what we most need to learn.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. So that's what it was. I started with very basic grammar, which I'm still, Sanskrit is one of those language systems that, because it's very set in its ways, don't forget Sanskrit is, maybe I'm rushing here into explanation, but Sanskrit is not like any modern language you think of. A language evolves. A language is an organic system that evolves with culture, with history. Sanskrit, because of the way classical Sanskrit, that is, the rules were set. There is this great grammarian, extremely intelligent and knowledgeable grammarian called Panini, who somewhere around the 5th century BC sets this thing literally in stone. Well, not literally, but pretty much says, okay, these are the rules. Let me give you the rules. And, we don't deviate from those rules. And in a good sense, Sanskrit has been frozen. Classical Sanskrit, the way we learn it, has been frozen since. And I find this ancient stuff fascinating. So when people ask me, why? I can give many reasons, obviously, but one of them is because it feels empowering to be wrestling your way through a text that's been created, 3,000 years ago. I think it's an amazing experience, and you keep deepening it. So yes, that was part of my motivation.
Well, that is cool. When did you realize Sanskrit was more than just, quote, a sacred language, but actually a living experiential part of yoga practice?
That's a very interesting question. Maybe I would say that my intuitive understanding was first the other way around. I always approached it as a sacred practice. And by the way, if you ask a linguist, a Sanskritist, someone who does comparative philology and comparative linguistics, they might be to an extent taken aback by the concept of sacredness. If you ask a philosopher like Edwin Bryant, that's all he'll tell you. This is a sacred practice. You keep doing Swadhyaya. This is your practice. You keep, learning your mantras. You keep studying the language. Because the language is a reflection of a higher cosmic intelligence and order, just the way it's structured, the way it's presented. From linguistic perspective, it's probably one of the most artful, masterful, complex linguistic structures I have ever encountered. And given I have dealt with languages, I have studied languages, so Sanskrit, which is the oldest of all of the languages I've ever studied or inquired into, I was to an extent surprised of how vast this system is. Just to give you an example, I approached it as a sacred practice, as a philosophical practice, as well as a linguistic practice, because very early I grasped that dynamic within the linguistic system of Sanskrit, that the language is also a reflection of the mind that created it, right? Of the mindset with which this language was created, and which is very different than the Western mind. Because we have had multiple conversations, and you're a dear friend and a teacher of mine, that we are very linear in our Westernized thinking, and it all comes from Aristotle, from the Greek philosophers. It's not a bad or good thing. This is not a qualitative distinction I'm making. It's more of a distinction of essence, while the Indian and more of the Eastern philosophical thinking, it's more cyclical. Right? And there is this thing in Indian philosophy that things, concepts, qualities, they can exist in their polarities and still be integrated within the same space. So making space for the opposites, Sanskrit does that. One word can mean one thing, and then 7 lines down, the opposite thing. and it's context dependent, and it's experience dependent, and you have to broaden literally probably your linguistic brain structures in order to be able to make sense of it. And at first it might be a little bit challenging, but it's beautiful. It's so I find it stimulating spiritually, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. I truly believe that committing to a practice like this, because it entails so much, because it's related to yoga, because it's related to yoga philosophy, to Hindu, to Indian philosophy, it makes you in a way feel psychologically flexible as well.
Wow.
So that's one of the many, many things. And I'm sure that after we end that conversation, many other things will come to mind. But hey, let's hope that I'll be able to share at least half of them here.
While you were saying that, it made me think that if I go outside in the early morning when it's still dark and I look up and I see we have a lot of lights here, so I might be able to see the moon and a bright planet or a few stars. And I look a little deeper, or if I had a telescope and could look out into the cosmos, or go to a place where there's not a lot of city lights, I would maybe see an incredible level of increased complexity. So like, as you were explaining that, it made me think, maybe like I was trying to imagine in our English language, I know we have the potential for a certain level of complexity, but you're saying with Sanskrit, there's like a much wider cosmos of possibility. And is that a possibility of like being able to express oneself, or is it a increase of possibility to make a more complex idea? How could we relate complexity in relation to what a language can achieve?
The first of all, beautiful allegory, that thing with the stars. You can see them from the naked eye, then you can go a little deeper through the tools. That was beautiful. Language itself is a system of relating information, more or less. But deep inside, the language is actually pregnant with symbolical structures. Language, in many ways, is very, very is connected to mythology as well. There is this concept of Greek philosophy and mythology of logos, the word, the said, the uttered word. In Sanskrit, the word would be vach, the speech, the word. There is a goddess actually of the speech. Well, without language, we are not able to express, or to not only to express. So by expressing our inner emotions or thoughts, or whatever information we would like to share, we are also using the language to make meaning. We are meaning-making things. We, the Homo sapiens, absolutely. Language is that as well. So language is both your system of making sense of things, your system of to feel. In many aspects, we can use language to try to feel that existential void we often, many of us, experience. It's just there. So language, there's a whole I'm a psychologist by education and interested in all those concepts. There is a whole field in psychology called narrative psychology. So narrative therapy, I'm sorry. So you apply the therapeutic aspects of language to revision your experiences, to help you change your perspectives, right? To add different qualities to those experiences in order to help you move forward, right? Because more or less the purpose of each therapeutic approach is to unburden you from whatever your concerns or problems are, and to help you live a better, more functional life. Well, circle back to yoga. What is yoga? But that big idea of transcending the human suffering, right? So language, going back to Sanskrit, I find, and I would like to steer away from making a direct, again, qualitative comparison between, say, English and Sanskrit. It's just, well, to begin with, English as well as Sanskrit, they're all the languages we know, the Romance languages, all the European languages, including English, are part of Indo-European linguistic language group. So we have a ancient parent to this group. It's called Proto-Indo-European language. Nobody knows what this was, but Sanskrit was one of the children. It only happened that Sanskrit was created with the intention of keeping it for the purposes of a small elite, right? Keeping it for the purposes of performing, maintaining, facilitating specific religious, ritualistic acts with the purpose of, listen, they had a very important purpose, and the purpose was to maintain the cosmic order.
Wow.
You have to say your mantras 200 times a day, or the moon would not rise tonight, or the sun. And I say that jokingly, but I have long parted with the intent to minimize the seriousness of those experiences. Because as my professor Edwin Bryant says, and how do you know that the mantra doesn't help with that? How do you know that the sonic vibration of your mantra doesn't have effect on, say, natural events? A sonic vibration can shatter glass, can cause an avalanche. Why not the repetition of the mantra? These are, of course, hypothetical theories out there, but Sanskrit embodies all that. Sanskrit is a system that you can write and you can read and you can work with. It could be mind-boggling in its complexity. I mean, there are texts I still cannot touch. Like, I can't make sense of them. That requires probably years ahead, maybe lifetimes. For now, I'm sticking with the more simple things. And by the way, to be completely fair, Sanskrit is not only that. It's not only the sacred language or the language of the Brahman, the Brahmins, not at all. There is plenty, a huge, large corpus of texts that refer to little stories like the Greek Aesopus fables. Wow, there's a side of field of Sanskrit stories like that. There is a what did I come across recently? Something called Vriksha Sutra. Sutras about trees, right?
So cool.
Gardening. Things like that. There are Sanskrit writings about how to distill alcohol. So what I'm saying is that the more you get into art, science, absolutely, the more interesting it gets. And you see how broad and rich and how much, not to mention, of course, the language of those beautiful, magnanimous, epic epics, epic stories of the largest ones, Mahabharata and Ramayana.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Nona, that is so
I know,
interesting.
I'm sorry. That
No,
was
it's good. No. Thank you.
This is the problem, Todd. Once you get me going, just shut me up when I need to just give you a pose.
No, I love it. I'm curious, for someone who might think, like, Sanskrit is just too academic for me. How do you explain why even a little bit of Sanskrit can deepen their yoga practice and understanding?
Right.
Like if like everything you just said, and I go, well, geez, there's just no way I'm going to be able to touch that.
Because you don't, what I'm describing is pretty much years of experience. Of not, even if not years of mastering the language per se, years of compiling knowledge and academic studies and yogic scholarship and yoga psychology and yoga philosophy. That indeed takes time. But does that mean, Todd, that just because something is so vast, we should never touch it? No. Have we become such a culture of fast, now, instant gratification, superficiality, intellectual, psychological, emotional, spiritual, that, oh yeah, let me go to a yoga class. Oh, I'm doing yoga now. Can you do this pose? Can you do the other pose? Wait a minute. before the poses, there's a whole other thing. Nothing wrong with the poses. They're beautiful. But there is so much more that you can, if you only choose to not be as short-sighted. So only because, again, something is so, and yes, I understand that it could be intimidating. Do you know how many times I have encountered those the setbacks of, oh my God, really? Like I have nothing else to do. Like I teach 7 classes per day, private clients, and then now, oh no, no way. That's why it's called a practice, right?
Yeah.
It's a practice because it shapes your mental discipline as well. It shapes, and let me tell you, you tackle, like sometimes I can go through a whole page of text in like, say, half an hour or 20 minutes. Sometimes I can be hung on a word or two or a compound. And compound in Sanskrit are very often, they're very common. It's the aggregation of words. 2, 3 could be more that actually, that you just have to untangle and explain the meaning of and things like that. So I could get there and spend 2 hours and be like, wow, no, I can't. Everyone has those moments, and there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. Only because something seems difficult, well, if anything, wouldn't that make it sweeter? When you step by step, segment by segment, to your personal satisfaction, you start actually walking the mountain. You don't have to rush. You don't have to climb all the way to the top from the get-go. It's a step after step.
Would you say that if like we were to look at a poster of 1,000 yoga poses and have the same type of response, I'd look at it and go, that looks like so much. I don't even know where to begin. But then if as a yoga teacher you were to say to me, well, let's just start with Paschimottanasana. Let's sit with your legs, sit on the floor, legs together and fold over your legs. And in essence, we would already be kind of contacting yoga through that one particular pose. If from the Sanskrit language side, would you recommend then just starting with a single syllable? And if that were the case, would be chanting a syllable would be one of the benefits, potentially just calming the mind? Or
Absolutely, yes. So thank you for that question. And there is this most powerful syllable as we know it. But here is the thing, and I refer obviously to Om. But you also have to approach it with integrity. In other words, when someone comes to you and wants to learn yoga and looks at the say Ashtanga 2nd or 3rd series and goes, "Oh my God, I'll never." What do you do with them? You bring them to the beginning, and not even Paschimottanasana. You show them how to inhale and lift the arms up for upward salute, and exhale and fold. And you start with, my story is a perfect example for that. You don't progress. You don't go any further. Not because you don't trust that the student can, but because there is a sequence. There is a gradual deepening of your understanding, of your practice, of your expertise is probably a strong word, but of your becoming acquainted with the practice, and that happens step by step. People chant jokingly, or completely detached. If you choose to do it, because it is considered to be a sonic representation of a higher creative intelligence. And there are many variations that we can, interpret that. If you'd like to do that, maybe read a little bit about it, see what it is, see if it resonates with you. I'm sure you've had the experience of people coming to a yoga class, but not being comfortable chanting on because they somehow regard it as compromising their own religious aesthetics or values. That's fine. We're not there. We're there to welcome everyone. But if you'd like to start from I would say, if it comes to yoga, start with learning a few words, a few of the poses. Don't be shy from that and learn them properly.
The names of the poses in Sanskrit, is that what you mean? Yeah.
The names of the poses. I'm a big proponent of learn it. If you're going to learn it, learn to pronounce it properly. It's a big thing in Sanskrit. And I'm not saying it because the teacher wants to exert some kind of a control over, but it's a system that's pretty set in its artful and intentional articulation. It doesn't matter how you pronounce. Sanskrit is such a nuanced language, though, that as you're well aware, one change of the stress accent makes the word sound completely different. You can refer to a pose or to a word that means a garland, a flower, the composition, or urine and feces. They sound very similar. So paying attention. And here's another opportunity for us as Westerners, people with very active, distracted minds, all day long on phones and laptops, and, to slow down and mindfully make it a meditative experience. Pay attention to what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. Then you never know. Step by step, this might deepen your interest, your awareness of, that's the name. I wonder why that name goes with that pose. Then you get to discover more. They're not just poses, as you know, they're not just names. There is a whole experience that comes with them. There are mythological stories behind most of the poses that take you back to the realm of philosophy, of nothing is random, right? We are, again, because we are beings we are storytelling beings. The telling of stories is a reflection of our lives. So listen to the stories. Each pose carries that story. Each name carries that story. And with the name comes the interest. And the interest towards learning more, towards being able to look at the text and, wow, look, today I made sense of 2 words. Let me tell you, you feel so victorious at first. Oh my God. Look, I made sense of those 2 words. Yeah. So I don't know how I got there, but I guess I was trying to just express that the language as the practice, they're both embodied practices, embodied experiences. Actually, there is something, I think we've spoken about it, there is something called embodied philology. For those yogic scholars who go and hunt and work on newly discovered scripts, something that wasn't available 20 or 30 years ago. And it's a hard work to translate, to recompose them. But as you know, they have been written hundreds or thousands of years ago, and the whatever the leaves they were written are now disintegrating. So it's a long process of recomposing the integrity, reestablishing the integrity. But they would go through those texts and they would, as the manual of, for example, particular hatha or related text go, they would equally, simultaneously work on translation and on embodying the experience, whether it's experience of breathing, meditation, or moving. And now there's a term for it. It's called embodied philology. So simultaneously, you're putting on one level the language, the workings of the language with the experience of body and mind.
Wow, that's amazing. That made me think of when I hear about professional actors taking on a role for a movie, and when they step off the camera, they continue to stay in that role because either they're so involved in it, or maybe it's easier not to break out of it and have to transfer.
Maybe, yes.
But that's a fascinating concept, that in the process of translating and or reconstructing old text, that we would also attempt to alter our mental state. That's pretty interesting.
And to me, it's a good thing you mentioned that, because to me, as a yoga therapist, someone who is committed to the concept of the body holds the secret. I'm also a somatic psychologist. So that concept of embodying the work, the linguistic work, is extremely impressive.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I'm a true believer. Yes, of course. How come we didn't think about it earlier?
I see that now. That is amazing, Nona. That is so cool. I am curious, can you share an example of a Sanskrit word or sutra that reveals a much deeper layer of meaning when understood in its original language versus translation?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I really hope that you're enjoying this episode, and I just wanted to take a moment to announce a course that I'm really excited to release. It's a free course, and it's called 8 in 8, Learn 8 Limb Yoga in 8 days. My goal is to help coach you along in the Ashtanga yoga practice in a way where we take just the sun salutations, the fundamental asanas, and the final breathing poses, break it down with some philosophy videos as well, explaining the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga in a very easy to use, friendly course that is totally free. Click the link below, check it out. Let me know what you think. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Ah, can I maybe answer in a reverse?
Yes.
So can I maybe give an example of something that's been so widely popularized?
Yeah, good idea.
Right.
Yes.
It's so loaded in our Western New Agey, culture that, and I will go with something as trivial as namaste.
Good one. Okay.
Ask people and they'll say, well, namaste means the light in me salutes the light in you. That's beautiful, Todd. It's absolutely beautiful. It's also incorrect.
It's so wonderful, but you're wrong. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it means I bow to you, I salute you, I say hi to you, like the way you, hey Todd, how are you? That is pretty much in a respectful way, because what could be greater than respecting the person you come across or standing? Yes, the gesture of bringing the hands together is a gesture of respect, of being humble. Well, that's a concept we don't know much about. Again, it's Westerners, but here we bring it. It's beautiful when when a teacher teaches the students, or when the students accept that, notion. But here is another example of, look at what namaste means. It means it's a greeting. The same root as namaskar, Surya Namaskar. I am saluting the sun salutation, right? I'm not elaborating on that. And the very term yoga. It's such a loaded term. Yes, yoga means union. Sure, it does. Yoga and union. But do you know how many other things it means? Also among them, fraud or deception, or astrological constellation approach, or something like that.
Well, let me back up. The word
Yeah.
yoga, one of the translations is a fraud or a deception.
Yeah. Yes. One of the many meanings. Why? Because again, remember, context dependent. Maybe, and this is, I'm completely hypothesizing here. Maybe that particular meaning was derived from. There was a notion in the history of yoga in which those street yogis, or they were called fakirs, or some kind of shamans, or doing something probably not very decent out there in their half naked or fully naked bodies, doing those weird stuff called yogic poses. Maybe the meaning was derived out of that. Maybe not. Again, this is me just playing with words.
Yes.
But it means many things. And I love that about yoga. Fine. Say that yoga means that, but if you're serious about the discipline you're teaching, maybe but it means many other things, because yoga is so broad. Yoga is so immensely, in many ways, it's almost ineffable. Like you can't. Yoga gives you this immediate experience, yet from another perspective is completely, wow, where do I even begin from?
Yeah.
Which is one of the things that makes it so compelling. Sanskrit carries that mysterious nuance of the yoga, or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe yoga carries the mystery of the Sanskrit language. It cannot be just a random occurrence that yoga is the language of yoga is Sanskrit, and the language of yoga philosophy and all the Indian philosophy is Sanskrit. Of course, there are other vernacular developments there. Many of the Buddhist texts are written in Pali, sure, absolutely, but they all some, Sanskrit is somewhere at the core of that.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That is
So,
cool. That is interesting. I hear you.
yes. Okay, one more example. I'm sorry, it
No,
just came to
please.
mind.
Yeah.
You know how we refer to the Hatha yoga
Yeah.
as the moon and the sun. Oh, so beautiful. There is a text actually that an implication, but more of a figurative speech mentioning it indeed exists. Okay, but that literally one means sun and one the moon is incorrect. It is not. So just how, listen, Todd, when we are eager to receptive to believe in something, anything could be true. And that could be good or bad. Look at where life is today.
Yeah,
We
good
talk
point.
fake news or this or the other. And I'm not saying that these terms are fake news. I'm sure that those attempts to elaborate on them, to enrich them, to embellish them with more, to infuse them with more spiritual meaning and understanding is very benevolent. But I happen to think that there is value to also be able to stick to the facts.
Yeah.
And to the basics. And Sanskrit gives you that opportunity as well.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool how you're saying that the grammarian Panini, did I get that right?
Panini, yes.
Panini.
Yes.
Laid down the rules. So it's like, if I'm going to learn chess, I learn the rules, and the rules are the rules. Like you don't make up new rules. Like when I play Uno with my daughter, she tries to make up new rules, and I'm trying to no.
There we go. There you go. I know you like them better, but no, this is the rule. Yes.
But it's interesting to think, like you said, that there is that structure. So from at least we have some rules to work with. I don't know. That seems powerful.
Yes, because Todd, when you say you're say you speak about particular philosophical system, the Indian philosophical system, say Vedanta. Well, most people know Vedanta. Vedanta. What is Vedanta? Wait, when you actually speak about Vedanta, you don't only mean Vedanta, because Vedanta has many branches. You mean Advaita Vedanta, the non-dual Vedanta, because there is also Vishishta Vedanta, for example, which is different. But when you commit to this system, you keep within the boundaries of the system. You use the terminology, use the your guiding light is Shankara's work. So as a main philosopher of the system, you try to remain within the structure, within the order, and I think that is done with the intent to preserve its integrity. Same with Sanskrit. Panini is something like Patanjali of the yoga philosophy. He gathered the content, the material, and codified it, right? So today, so many years after Patanjali, we still refer to the eight limbs, right? Because they are meaningful and one can work with them. You can work with them in psychological, in therapeutic context. You can work with them in the on the mat. You can work with them anywhere in life, and you should. You should make that a life practice. Same with the grammatical structure that Panini creates. Don't forget that for the longest time, especially those big epos structures, those mega structures like Mahabharata, for example, that is known. I believe there hasn't been someone to dispute that yet, that it is the largest epos, literally creation ever in existence.
Like the biggest book ever written.
Well, like 50 of those books, actually, 50 volume books. It's 100,000 verses, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty big. That's pretty big. But for the longest times, those epic stories were given from generation to generation verbally. There were no writing systems at the time. So when we speak about are we being, why do we have to pronounce things in certain way? Well, imagine if everyone started adding their own interpretations, right? Again, to preserve the integrity, the authenticity as much as possible. Obviously, each person who represents, represents the system, or who will add some personal interpretation or maybe improvisation, why not? But as long as you stick to the story, at least for the epos, then you're good to go until someone actually sat down and started recording them.
Nona, this question popped in my head when you were saying that. I recently saw how, I compiled some questions for you, and this is not one of them.
It's okay.
But,
It's okay.
right, I saw how with the Sumerian text, so I guess I believe this is pre-Old Testament.
Sumer and Akkad, yes, they are usually, but so yeah, go ahead.
And that AI has been able to decipher. Thank you. What type of, and I know this maybe make a lot of yoga Sanskritists a little upset by even bringing this up. Maybe it won't. Has AI been able to decipher something out of Sanskrit that humans have not yet?
That's a good question. I have never inquired into this. I know for sure that we are referring to that Proto-Indo-European language that has not, we have found some evidence of it, but no one has been able to decipher it. But there are many things we can say pro and cons of artificial intelligence. I would say that for as long as we use artificial intelligence to further human knowledge, with good intent, with beneficial intent, with benevolent intent, I'm all for it.
Cool.
I'm all for it.
That's cool.
I'm all for it being AI being used in medicine. I'm all for it because when it comes to that, for as long as the artificial intelligence can interfere in order to eradicate the potential human mistakes, and of that there are many, because as we say, there is a saying, we are just humans, right? Humanum est errare. It's a Latin saying that says to make a mistake is human. Right? As long as that is the purpose we use it for, absolutely. Anything above the threshold of anything that actually just promotes personal interest, positions of empowering, financial gain, this and that, then
understood. Of course.
Absolutely. But that I will have to look into it, because that actually I have heard, I wonder, but it was a while ago. I have heard about artificial intelligence being used to read, or at least to make, just to bring a little bit more information of those, and they were excavated a while ago.
That's cool. I'll check into it too. I just wanted to pick your brain and see if you
That'd be great to make another podcast and to discuss, hey, this is what artificial intelligence found. And because also in many Sanskrit texts, let's also be, when we're talking about these things, let's be honest and fair that it hasn't been once or twice that you'll find some text compromise, either grammatically, or someone would insert a concept, or someone else would copy someone else's concept and then present the concept as his own, right? Like, what would we call this nowadays? There's a modern term of, not opposite, going against the grain of the copyright situation. So yes, absolutely. So plagiarism is something, was something valid back there too.
All right. Thank you for diverging with me on that one. I have another one for
yes, you. Not much help there, but I'm willing to explore it further.
I feel like you have touched upon this, but let me try to help you dig down a little deeper on it. You teach both yoga therapy and language. So how do you help students or clients integrate what they learn from Sanskrit into embodied therapeutic or meditative practice?
Yeah. I'm not always successful, but I think I'm learning better and better through the practice, through my work, to make it to make it user friendly, but not in a sense that you dumb it down. Okay, I divert from concepts like, okay, make it. You have to address the concept with respect, and you have to introduce it with respect, and but I try to catch their interest at first. So we spoke about asanas. I would maybe while talking about something, or in therapeutic context, if I'm working with a therapeutic group or one individual client, maybe I would say, okay, do this or that, or release this or that, or this is code. And then something would either maybe coming from the client who would reflect something, or I reflect something back to them after they share their experience with me. And then this little thing would pop in my mind, and I would say, oh, you know what? This is code in yoga and Sanskrit. With time and work, you develop a bit of intuitive acuteness of knowing when it's appropriate and when it's not. You always have people who are completely disconnected from those concepts. So you can have a person who's receptive enough and open enough that you can talk about both her, say, whatever is going on in her body, psychologically or physically or both, because usually it is both. And you can talk about the concepts of chakras, right? Or you can choose to describe what those energetic or psychological patterns connote without using names or esoteric tantric concepts that might, just make the person uneasy about it. Or you can have a conversation about how contemporary psychology actually welcomes those esoteric concepts. There is a whole branch in psychology that, for example, combines. Have you heard of, maybe some of your members might have heard of, there is a psychological system behavioral therapy called ACT, A-C-T.
I've heard of
the abbreviation stands for acceptance and commitment therapy. So that therapy, it's pretty much, if you ask me, based on Eastern philosophical thinking. Pretty much the underlying notion, one of the creators, fantastic, brilliant mind, Stephen Hayes, is that life is suffering. Well, does that sound Buddhist or not?
Yeah.
Or yes, sarvam dukkam or what? But not suffering in a way of, it's not worth living. To the contrary, get acquainted, get used to, accept the fact that life could often be just a series of challenges. What do? You work relentlessly to cultivating, to accumulating inner resources, psychological resources that would come handy and helpful in times when you need to overcome those challenges. This is called resilience. This is called growth. This is called well-being. Enough with that concept of, are you happy? What does that even mean? There's another, from Sanskrit, I'm throwing the concepts from psychology, but it's called hedonic treadmill. How we, in Greek philosophy, there's this term of hedonism, Hedonia and Eudaimonia. Hedonia is the experiences of pleasure in life. You do good stuff. It's just good. This feels good. It translated in our modern language. Okay, drinking with friends is good, or doing this is good. It's easy to go down that path, to just pursue the pleasure of life, right? But wait a minute, pain and pleasure, they kind of go hand in hand. Eudaimonia is the concept of what makes life meaningful, right? So you are in pursuit of cultivating those values, because we also value-based human systems, all right? And you may not always achieve the success of easy pleasures in life. You might not be the richest person or the most powerful person or the most famous person. Kudos to your ego. But you can sure live in a very content life, doing good for yourself and others. And that is the concept of eudaimonia. And that is the concept of that I try to integrate in my work of how I combined the fundamental understanding of yoga as a system of betterment, for lack of a better word. Yeah.
Great answer, Nona.
And existentially also, a little bit, just to add a little bit more, but not a somber note, but if you're really serious about this stuff, Todd, if you really read the text, I think, and you can get whichever text you want. You can pull a Upanishadic text, you can pull a epic text. Yes, there is a lot about how to live socially, how to be socially, how to live a meaningful life, how to be a dharmic person, how to do your duties. You know, Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, it's better to do one's own duty poorly rather than do someone else's duty, dharma, in a good way. Follow your own path, right? Look at this society, so divided, people so polarized inside themselves. I'm not even talking about between one person amongst the people of what do I want? Why? What is this eternal discontent inside me? Because I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what makes me happy. We're in pursuit of happiness. Those concepts, I think, my opinion, maybe I've read it somewhere. I don't doubt it. It's yoga is one, from one aspect at least, one long and serious preparation about the end, if we perceive it as end, about accepting in a rational, dispassionate, detached way your mortality, which brings you to the other purpose of then live a purposeful life. Because it's so short. Also in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says 3 periods of that whole thing being a being. The beginning and the end are avyakta, unmanifested. Only the middle is manifested. So we don't know where we come from. We don't know where we're going. The only thing we know is that little speck of time that is in between.
Oh my gosh.
I
Amazing,
mean,
Nona.
Todd, and the older we get, the more we feel Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, called that the neurosis of death. Because you know that one day either you or you see it in other people, and usually first it's your parents. You know, it just happens. We know that the younger you are, the more you don't think about this stuff, but the more mature, the more you age, the more, and then this is when you have to start making sense of that.
Yeah. That's
Otherwise, you enter a very dark space of fear, of neuroticism, of really being anxious. And let me tell you, my yoga therapy is, yoga therapy is very effective approach to any kind of physical, concerns or problems, but I have found it to be most effective in applications of the psychotherapeutic modalities of yoga. And this is what brought me to, in my doctoral studies I studied health psychology, and I spent, God, it was 2 years of bliss, and one of those years was COVID, so nothing else to do. I just research. I did something called meta-synthesis of qualitative research on yoga, on the psychotherapeutic modalities of yoga. Let me tell you, there is a lot out there to prove that. So I personally am of the opinion that yoga is that well-rounded, well-integrated, wonderfully holistic intervention. Yoga therapy, they coincide in many regards. Yes. Sanskrit is sacred in its in the way and the reasons it was created. It's sacred in the way you apply it. It's meaningful in practical and in spiritual way. At the end of the day, learning a new language, as difficult as Sanskrit might turn out to be, is also good for your mental faculties, okay? And this is serious. This is me bringing you all contemporary brain science that says, what we previously thought about the brain, that after a certain age, the brain stops developing, is completely inaccurate, okay? Now we know the concept of brain plasticity. Now we know that with each experience we introduce into our lives, or we expose intentionally ourselves or unintentionally ourselves to, there is something called rewiring of the brain. We create new neural pathways, and we have a choice. There is always agency in yoga, always agency. Okay, don't mistake things for just this is this is everything is predetermined. We always have agency. I actually recently had that conversation again with Edwin Bryant. We are currently doing Bhagavata Purana. And he was talking about Kali Yuga, the different periods of time in Indian philosophy. And I asked him, I said, well, when you talk about them, it sounds like we have no say in anything. This is this period of time and this is a destruction. That's why the world is in this condition today. And he said, absolutely not. You do your dharma. All right. You do, no matter how small you think it is, you have your duty. Call yourself an activist. You go out and with your little body, soul, and mind, you do what it's your best. This is your dharma for this life. Then can come the next one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this somehow I don't know how. Again, I don't know how the thought trailed, but this is the beauty of a podcast conversation that we allowed, right?
I think we had a good structure here. We came in fairly prepared.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for leading me masterfully. Yes.
Oh man, Nona, I am so thankful to have this chance. I love hearing your thoughts, and you put so much energy into your love of yoga, and it's palpable every time you're here at the studio. I really appreciate and so grateful to have your expertise here, and thank you for just taking time and explaining. I think this is something that a lot of people don't really know that much about in the world of yoga, and why I wanted to ask you some questions about it. I feel like it gets glossed over, or it's maybe underappreciated. And again, I've been watching you study and hearing about your progress that you've been making. So when you said to me the other day, oh my gosh, I'm having a great day, I had a chance to facilitate this. That's why I was so excited. I am excited to bring you on to have conversation. If somebody would like to join your study group, I have in the link your website, and they can click and follow. Is that the easiest way for them to find you?
Yes, that would be the easiest way. They can email me. And I also wanted to put it out there for your beautiful yoga tribe that I'm also part of, with any of your members or just audience, listeners of your podcast. If they have any questions, it doesn't need to be in a formal study group. I love this stuff.
All right.
As you said, yes, I know it's visible. I've put my heart and soul into it. I'm happy to answer questions. Sometimes I try to be pretty consistent with my lifestyle routine, and because I work a lot and I have to in order to be re-energized. But I can stay until midnight answering emails and questions.
Isn't it amazing, Nona? I had somebody write me an email today, random, from watching a video. And it made me feel so appreciative that somebody actually took the time to write and ask a question. And because a lot of times we're doing what we're doing here and we don't know, is it landing? Are they listening? Are they following through all the way to the very end here and actually listening for a whole hour? So, if somebody was thinking to themselves, well, we don't want to burden you. We don't want to, you're busy, or maybe we're not well known enough, or I don't know, whatever stuff goes on through our heads, why we think we are scared to ask questions. But I'm going to just follow up with what you're saying, that yes, we love it.
Do.
Yes, we love it.
Yes. And if we had, even if it's a handful of people who would like to at least, dip their toes in the concept of that beautiful, artful language that has so much history, culture, and spirituality related to it. I am happy to facilitate groups, and we can do. It doesn't need to be anything too much. Once a month or twice a month we meet on Zoom. Everything is via Zoom in the comfort of your own home, and we start from basics. And I meet my people always at the level they're at. I usually start with introducing basic linguistic concepts. Let me tell you, in America, people are not taught properly that. I say that because it's just I have two children who went through that system, educational system. So I lead everyone by the hand until they're ready to lead someone else.
Amazing, Nona. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you from
Thank
the
you.
bottom of my heart, from listening, from hearing me, and for always being keeping an open mind out. You're one of my favorite people to refer to when it comes to those conversations, and I truly admire. One of the many things I admire about you and your work is that you keep that inquiring mind always vibrant and alive. We all appreciate that.
Thank you, Nona.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was Nona Mileva sharing her insight into Sanskrit and the living language of yoga. I love hearing how she connects language, sound, and self-study in a way that makes Sanskrit accessible and meaningful for everyone, not just scholars or teachers, but anyone curious about yoga's deeper roots. To learn more about Nona's teaching, her yoga therapy work, and her upcoming programs, and also if you want to take class with Nona here at Native Yoga Center, she teaches every single Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern and 11:15 Eastern. You can join in studio, and or you can join her in the live stream. Go to our website, nativeyogacenter.com, and you can register there and visit her website, wellyoga.net, where you can find out what she's up to. If you enjoyed this conversation, check out more interviews and yoga discussions on the Native Yoga Podcast or visit us online at nativeyogacenter.com. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, keep exploring the language of yoga. All right. Namaste. Native Yoga Podcast is produced by myself. The theme music is dreamed up by Bryce Allen. If you like this show, let me know. If there's room for improvement, I want to hear that too. We are curious to know what you think and what you want more of, what I can improve. And if you have ideas for future guests or topics, please send us your thoughts to info@Native Yoga Center. You can find us at nativeyogacenter.com. And hey, if you did like this episode, share it with your friends, rate it and review, and join us next time.